Up next is Madie Bogosian, who will be looking at essentially assessing effectiveness of build-up strategies in football. Madie has recently joined SBG as a product specialist from Derby County and their analysis department. Madie, I can see you, so you've heard me. Whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
There we go. Okay, so like Tom said, I'm going to be discussing the effectiveness of build-up strategies in football, sort of more specifically into goal kicks and their development in the modern game. I spent a fair few months looking into this at university, sort of doing research and then some of my own studies as well. So firstly, I'd like us to consider whether goal kicks are actually relevant to performance in football. So in the past, goal kicks have been considered a small part of the game, and there's been little consideration to their influence on performance. A few reasons for that being the distance to the opposition goal. It's the furthest it can be away, basically, to the opposition's goals. So it can be difficult for people to consider that goal kicks will create chances due to the sheer distance a team will have to cover from that goal kick to get near the opposition's goal. The opposition can set up to press this goal kick, which then comes with the risk of losing possession close to a team's own goals. So these challenges a team can face when awarded a goal kick often leads to a long ball kicked up the pitch, ultimately to get as far up the pitch as possible and as far away from a team's own goal as possible, i.e. they want to cover as much distance in the quickest amount of time. However, with newfound technology and data continuing to grow, so does the amount of detail that can be placed into analysis as we try to perfect every phase of play. So now long goal kicks have become somewhat outdated, and we can see such a large increase in short goal kicks since the rule change to the 2019-20 season, where goal kicks can now be received inside the penalty area, with the opposition having to remain outside the penalty area. So all teams in the top 5 European leagues increased their number of goal kicks in the 2019-20 season, most likely due to the release of pressure from having more space away from the opposition to receive the ball inside their penalty area. So when we consider some benefits to being awarded a goal kick, a team has controlled possession of the ball, to start with anyway. There's time to set up with how a team will want to play out, and then a team can then practice the setup at the training ground and play out how they want to. So furthermore, when we consider sort of the option of going short from a goal kick, the fact that the goal kick is taken in a team's own half means that the team will have a numerical superiority over the opposition, therefore theoretically making it easier to build up and maintain controlled possession of the ball. So let's now take a look at some data regarding short and long build-ups. This graph is showing you the average time in possession per goal kick for the team. And this study also recorded the time the opposition had in possession as well. So the sequence didn't necessarily end if the opposition gained possession. It ended if the ball went out of play, a shot was taken, or if 60 seconds had passed. So what we can see from this graph is that short goal kicks produce significantly more time in controlled possession than long goal kicks, in nearly, just over 26 seconds compared to around over 5 seconds for long goal kicks. We can also see how similar the time in possession for both the goal kick team and the opposition are following long goal kicks, suggesting that there's an equal chance for either team to gain controlled possession following long goal kicks. Many studies have coupled longer possession duration with successful performance, and it cannot be denied that possession increases the likelihood of scoring. In order to score a goal, a team needs to be in possession of the ball. When considering time in possession alone, results shown in this graph suggest that following long goal kicks, the opposition has an equal likelihood of scoring as a team taking the goal kick. Whereas following short goal kicks, the team taking the goal kick has a significantly increased likelihood of scoring. So that's just considering time in possession on its own. It kind of seems obvious to state that short goal kick sequences allow a team more time in controlled possession than long goal kicks, due to the nature of the passes involved being more controlled compared to long passes that are harder to execute and control by the receiver. with a high rate of loss of possession coming from long goal kicks. So furthermore, longer times in possession does not necessarily directly predict success, as we have seen in teams in the past. So let's now move on to another performance indicator that is associated with success, which is pitch progression. So as previously mentioned, long goal kicks have been employed in the past as a technique to advance the ball through the defensive lines of the opposition and into goal scoring zones faster. However, more recent research diminishes these principles, and in fact, short goal kicks are found to progress teams significantly further up the pitch than long goal kicks. This can be due to the high density of players and passing options available during short build-up that allows the transitional build of attacks from the defensive third and into midfield, and so on. Obviously, if the angles and distances are correct, for example. And on average, looking at this sort of graph, long goal kicks do not progress a team out of their own half when we look at the average of progression. So ultimately, a team's aim is to progress up the pitch into goal scoring zones close to the opponent's goal. Now, research has determined that 80% of goals are scored from inside the penalty area. Obviously, it's the closest to the goal, emphasising the importance of entries into the opposition's penalty area to maximise scoring opportunities. Recent research has found that 17.3% of short goal kicks led to entries into the opponent's box, whereas only 7% of long goal kicks led to box entries, which is obviously over a 10% increase for short goal kicks into the box. This sort of reinforces the evidence that short goal kicks lead to further pitch progression. But none of these key performance indicators matter, however, if teams do not create chances. So more recently, I've imported championship data from this season's games so far into Match Tracker, and here we can visualise the number of chances being created by teams solely from goal kick sequences. So this graph shows that 23 out of the 24 teams in the championship have managed to create some form of goal scoring opportunity from goal kick sequences. We can see with Huddersfield Town performing the best in terms of creating chances from goal kicks, alongside Stoke City and Norwich City experiencing the most success in terms of goals scored from a goal kick sequence. Now, this is just a snapshot of 10 weeks worth of games so far this season. This can be looked at for a season-long review for either an individual team or the whole league, for example. We can narrow it down as well, split it up into short goal kicks and long goal kicks to see where chances are created there. I want to show you a closer look at the raw data that we can gather from goal kick sequences. Here is a table displaying goal kick sequences from this season's championship games again. And I've filtered this down to only show goal kicks that have resulted in a goal, a shot, or an attacking set piece. So we can see in the bottom corner that it's narrowed it down from over 30,000 to just 62 goal kicks. When we begin to examine the data further, I can see that the distance, the first pass by the goalkeeper covered in the fourth column here, making it easier to distinguish between what I view as short or long. So in the past, a long goal kick or a long pass is said to be over 40 metres. So the sort of bottom goal kick instances will be considered as long, and the top ones are considered as short because they're less than 40 metres. I can also see the length in seconds that the sequence was, helping me narrow down the time in possession, and also having access to how many passes the sequence took. Did the team progress up the pitch? Yes, they did. And how far in metres forward gain? Obviously, in these instances, the teams have progressed most of the way up the pitch due to the way I've filtered them to only show goal kicks with chances. We can filter it to only see instances that ended in the final third and whether or not a team entered the opposition's penalty area, which we discussed previously. Ultimately, did this lead to a scoring opportunity? And then at the end here, we can see what event happened at the end of the sequence. Was a shot taken? Did it lead to a goal or a corner, for example? Furthermore, we can even investigate which players were involved in these sequences, shown in the second to last column. Maybe not that relevant to goal kicks, but certainly opportunities where chances were created. We can begin to build a report on which players are involved the most in these sequences and identify key players in the team. So all this data you can see here is solely from Opta's eventing data, and no tracking was used in my analysis of goal kicks. But you can see how useful this data can be collated together to produce an in-depth analysis with many components. However, if tracking data is available to teams through huddle tracking, for example, then Match Tracker can ingest this to provide an even more thorough analysis of championship data, such as the pressure being applied by the opposition throughout the goal kick sequence, or for example, what Ben was talking about earlier with heat maps showing us with build-up, what happens and where the main areas are in build-up to receive the ball. So having access to all this data is in one place made it simple for me to carry out my investigation into goal kicks. I had access to every instance that occurred in games without the need to locate them myself. And this makes my analysis workflow much quicker and productive, especially maybe if a team has a small analysis department. I think Andy talked about earlier how it sort of speeds up your analysis process and cuts out a lot of time that you could spend finding these instances yourself. So just before I wrap up my presentation, I want to go back and talk to you more about goal kicks and what we've covered. So throughout research and data collection, I've talked about two distinct types of goal kicks, short and long, dependent on the type of kick played by the goalkeeper. However, when we analyse the sequence that occurs from a goal kick, what is there to describe an instance the ball is initially passed to a nearby teammate, classifying the goal kick as short, and then immediately played long over a large distance to a player further up the pitch? We can see how much performance differs between short and long passes, so to classify this sequence as a short goal kick can be unrepresentative of short goal kick outcomes due to the long pass being executed shortly after. So I have a video example here for you to help explain the technique a little bit better. So obviously we have a short pass being played to a nearby centre back, and the theory behind this technique is to invite the pressure from the opposition, playing the short pass and drawing them close to the ball and out of position. This then leaves large space either in midfield or even in behind the defensive line to exploit and formulate an attack. Now these instances can be small windows of opportunity before the opposition reorganises, and so attacks must be carried out quite swiftly. So I'm just going to show you that one again and try not to talk too much over it. So first pass to the centre back. A second longer pass into the opposition's half. A third pass. And obviously you can see how quickly the attacking team are transitioning. A fourth pass, a cross and a shot. Okay, so I just sort of brought this table back up because I want to show you what a short to go long, this kind of technique looks like in the data if I wanted to identify that. So we'll find an example from this season's championship data. So Millwall, you can see in an instance where they've had 3 passes from a short goal kick, but they've managed to enter the opposition's final third into their penalty box and actually managed to get a shot out of it as well. So the short pass was just 17.6 metres, so less than 20 metres, classifying the goal kick as short. But it seems strange to think that a team can play a short goal kick and get to the opposition's box in just 3 passes. So this would flag up to me that this was a short to go long goal kick, and then I could then look at the video to confirm this. So a common misconception of this sort of short to go long technique is that teams will play long if they cannot handle the press from the opposition. This is often not the case, and in fact it's an effective technique to create large space between the opposition units, disorganising their defence, which you've seen in the video, and formulating better attacks than if a team went long right from the goal kick, where the opposition was set up ready to defend their attack. So to conclude, I could go on forever talking about goal kicks and the different strategies and tactics involved, but I just have 3 main points. Short goal kicks result in further pitch progression and more box entries than long goal kicks, despite previous sort of analysis and research. Teams can create chances from goal kicks, whether they're short or long, with goal kicks as well being the 3rd most common set piece to occur during a game of football. Now that we have the technology and data to refine our analysis so quickly, more emphasis should be placed on how teams can build up from a goal kick, whether that be in research or in a team's own analysis of how they build up or how the opposition build up. And finally, goal kicks taken short and then played long should be established as a technique of their own and not just be defined as a short goal kick. Thank you.
Madie, thank you very much for that talk. In my time at Opta, I did a similar bit of research and we've come to the same conclusion, so I'm very glad about that. One question from me before you go. I'd be interested to know, did you consider or have you ever looked at kind of team strategies defending goal kicks and essentially stopping teams from effectively building out? And did you see any patterns in sides that, you know, if you did do this work, were particularly good at essentially turning goal kicks for the opposition into bad chances to progress and score?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, like I said before, that now more teams are building up short, more teams are pressing higher at the pitch, cutting off the passing lines. They're putting more players closer to the goal taker, the goalkeeper, to stop them building up and cutting off these lines. And this does come with a risk of losing the ball close to a team's own goal, which can create dangerous chances. But then if you flip it and look at how long goal kicks, I've seen so many instances where a team has kicked it long, the opposition have won the first contact, the second contact, and within 10 seconds they're into the team's box. They've won an attacking set piece, and a team can just easily concede from that instance or from the corner that sort of comes after that. So yeah, I think it's a very good point that people need to sort of look at into defending defending goal kicks, which would be good with tracking data, or the heat maps maybe that Ben have shown, where the space is left over from the build up, the movements from the midfield, and even the strikers to imbalance the defence of the opposition.
And with, obviously one of your conclusions was short to long goal kicks should kind of be classified as their own type. Is it possible to do that in Match Tracker now, or is that something that is coming in the future, that you can add a label to a sequence and say this is a specific type? Yeah,
so if you create your table, you can sort of break it down into obviously the distance of the first pass, or we can have that less than 40 meters, less than 20 meters, depending on how short you want it to be. And then we can filter it down to how many passes were actually in that sequence, where the ball ended up in the final third. Usually I would use to break down into short and long. We can filter the distance of the passes, who was involved. So I could say I want the first pass player to be a centre back, and then the next pass player to be a striker or a winger, for example.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think you can build up. There's not a strict definition to short to go long, so it's very like your own sort of subjective view. I think I was doing like 2 to 3 passes before the long kick, over 40 meters or over into the opposition's half.
Cool. Okay. Brilliant. Madie, thank you very much. Yeah, very, very enjoyable.